The information in this video is provided from the Practitioner's Guide to the Calf and Achilles Complex, which provides a detailed framework for assessment and management of injury for practitioners in both health and performance settings. The calf and Achilles play a significant role in nearly all sporting actions. Across running, jumping, sprinting, and cutting, the ankle complex is constantly working, managing and transmitting force, often at levels far exceeding body weight. In this video, we'll cover three main topics: why the calf and ankle complex is always working and how it interacts with the rest of the lower limb, how early phase management can offload the calf while still building global capacity, and how to think through early return to running decision-making once sufficient capacity has been restored. The goal is to integrate both isolated tissue assessment and integrated performance progression. The calf and Achilles muscle tendon unit plays a central role to both vertical and horizontal propulsion. Across dynamic tasks like jumping, sprinting, and acceleration, the calf contributes roughly 35 to 40% of the total lower body work, supporting force transfer across the ankle while assisting movement upstream at the knee and hip. This is largely due to the calf's ability to utilize the Achilles stretch shortening cycle, allowing the muscle tendon unit to store and release elastic energy efficiently and tolerate very high tensile loads, often exceeding 10 to 12 times body weight during tasks like running and jumping. However, the calf doesn't work in isolation. It assists the quadriceps in deceleration, the glutes during acceleration, the hamstrings during sprinting, and the hip flexors during steady-state running. At the same time, it is assisted by these muscle groups when the overall force demands of the lower body increase. This explains why calf and Achilles injuries are rarely just local problems. They're often the result of system-level load management issues rather than just weakness at the ankle. Early in rehab, goals are focused on controlling both intensity and volume of load. One practical strategy early on is to set load thresholds for isometric training sessions. This can be done in ForceFrame training mode. In addition to setting load thresholds, practitioners can use heel wedges or heel lifts to increase ankle plantar flexion position during the test. By plantar flexing the ankle, wedges will reduce peak tensile strain through the Achilles. They will allow low-load calf strengthening without provoking symptoms, and they will enable continued exposure to movement while protecting the injured tissue. This allows practitioners to introduce calf loading early on in rehab without exceeding the tissue's tolerance and capacity. At the same time, higher load training can and should be directed at accessory muscle groups to support overall calf function. These include the knee extensors and flexors, the hip extensors and flexors, the hip abductors, and the ankle inverters and everters. Isometric and controlled strength benchmarks in these regions help maintain overall lower limb capacity while calf loading is temporarily constrained. This dual approach of protect locally and load globally reduces deconditioning and sets the stage for future progression during rehab. The plantar flexor complex is strongest in near maximal dorsiflexion range of motion. Therefore, practitioners looking to assess peak force characteristics of the plantar flexors should do so in a knee over toe position. Like all isometric assessments, be sure to minimize contribution from neighboring muscle groups and keep cues consistent within each test. Testing at least 3 maximum effort repetitions, each lasting at least 3 to 5 seconds in duration, is recommended for reliable data. Practitioners are also recommended to rest at least 60 to 90 seconds in between each assessment. Fast forwarding to the return to run phase, practitioners often experience setbacks when running volumes increase. Research shows that during running, the soleus alone experiences forces approaching 85% of its peak force capacity with each step, making premature exposure a common cause of setbacks. Rather than relying on time-based criteria, early return to running decisions should be guided by strength capacity across the calf and lower extremity. According to Green and colleagues in 2022, there were 6 rules of thumb that emerged as key considerations when returning to running after a calf muscle strain injury. These considerations were: initially, run on alternate days. Avoid heavy-footed, slow jogging early. Not progressing volume and intensity on consecutive days. Schedule off-field exercises after running. Shape return to running progressions to meet the demands of the sport. And avoid sudden changes in conditions, such as surface and footwear. For further reading, resources, and citations, please check out the description below. Once sufficient strength is achieved, early return to running should follow a few simple steps. Importantly, running volume and intensity can be effective even at lower doses, provided athlete feedback and symptom response are monitored closely. Modern speed and timing technologies can further support this process by tracking average speed, split times, and exposure to higher velocity running. This allows practitioners to quantify re-exposure to training demands, rather than rely on subjective reports. Calf and Achilles injuries aren't always just about the ankle. They reflect how force is produced, attenuated, and shared across the entire lower limb. By managing early load intelligently, strengthening accessory systems, and reintroducing running based on capacity, not timelines, practitioners can reduce the recurrence and support a durable return to sport. That is the purpose of the Practitioner's Guide to the Calf and Achilles Complex, turning complex loading demands into clear clinical decisions. Download this guide and more for free today at resources.vald.com. You'll find the link in the description below. And subscribe for more videos like this. We'll see you next time.